Hello, and welcome to a Waking Moment podcast. I'm Dani Palacio, and I'm your host. And if this is the first time you're tuning in, I welcome you. There is a lot in the library from past episodes, and I invite you to explore all the many topics. Today's topic is, and I should also welcome all the people that are returning. I am so grateful for your continued support. Please share. Please like, please subscribe so that you stay informed and connected, and that this podcast and these recordings can get shared to even more people. So I thank you in advance for doing that. So today is a big day because it is the Sacral Chakra deep dive episode, and there is so much information that I want to share with you and that has come through around how maybe we have been thinking about the sacral chakra and how in our world the sacral chakra is pretty demonized, to be honest, and how I would love to break through all that crap because it's such a power center. It is full of so much possibility. And as I've seen clients over the past 30 years, the sacral chakra always comes up. It's one of those chakras that we're not encouraged to engage in. We're not encouraged to explore. And a lot of times it's blocked or it's out of balance. Or in some cases, it's overstimulated, but more from a shadow, unknown perspective than a intentional growth expansion perspective. So all of that's going to get covered. So I invite you to sit back. If you're on a walk, enjoy your walk, and just listen. I believe that words and my voice has a unique tone and frequency. And even if you don't 100% hear everything, you're still getting all of the good, beautiful vibrations that will hopefully increase your frequency into a higher state of possibility. And so, all right, here we go. First, I want to start with what is the sacral chakra and where is it? So it is the second chakra. So you have the root chakra that is at your base and that is connected to your perineum and then down into the earth. And then you have your sacral chakra that sits below the belly button and ends at the pubic bone. So it's that lower belly area of the body. And if you bring that lower body across, it also includes your hips and in your lower sacrum and your back. And so it's a foundational part of how you move and how you are supported in your physical body as well as your energetic body. So imagine if that chakra, the sacral chakra, was actually fully grounded, fully expanded, and fully full of energy moving to support you. What could you possibly create? And creation is a big word with the sacral chakra. So a lot of times, and I won't say I'm guilty, but I have done this in the past. How's that? Because you all know how I feel about the word guilt. So I have spent more time focusing on the sacral chakra from a feminine perspective because I'm a woman in this life and I have a womb and ovaries and fallopian tubes and as a woman, we go through a process of coming into our hormones starting and then coming into menses and then coming out of menstrual cycles and into premenopause and then menopause. And all women know that that's going to happen. And, even if you had a hysterectomy, you're instantly put into menopause. No matter what age that happens, you have a hysterectomy and you go into menopause. And I want to say to those women that have had their uterines taken, ovaries, fallopian tubes, energetically, you haven't lost anything. It's still there energetically, and it's still supporting your energetic body that thus supports your physical body. So that's one thing I really want to clear up. And then for men, I want to say a heartfelt, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't fully understand the complexity and the beauty and the potential of your sacral chakra. Um, you have sexual organs, and in the sacral chakra, it's the testes that we're mostly focusing on, but of course, the penis is also involved. And that whole same area of the body is same and true for you. I think where the differences, and we're going to get into this a little later, is how men and women respond, react, express those unbalanced, overactive, or blocked chakras. And the sacral chakra is one in which they somewhat differ, but can be true across all genders. And so we all, no matter how we identify, have this beautiful sacral chakra. Let's start with some concrete things. It is orange, the color orange. So I'm wearing orange today in honor of the sacral chakra and the teaching and the wisdom and the truth that is going to be shared on this podcast. It also, let me grab I don't want to get this wrong. So let me grab the content around it. It holds the element of water, and water is often associated with our emotions. So keeping the flow going, staying open and fluid is a beautiful way to support the sacral chakra. And it has, we always talk about how many petals of the lotus flower does each chakra have. The sacral chakra has 6. And so it's a nice, beautiful, opened flower, 6 petals, really showing the support, the bowl. And it has a lot to do with innocence, to be honest. So if you were to talk about the sacral chakra and you were to say, what emotion lives there? What's the emotion that is anchored there? It is innocence. And no matter what has happened to you in this life, your innocence is a divine birthright, and it can never be taken from you. It is always present, and it lives in the sacral chakra. If you've had physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, you can feel like someone stole your innocence. Or if you've been duped, manipulated, lied, cheated on, you can feel like your innocence is gone. Someone robbed something from you. I want to encourage you to reconnect with the sacral chakra and feel the innocence, the divine definition of innocence, that purity, that sweetness, that ability to trust. It's such a lovely energy. And on its opposite, because there's always light and dark, and so on its opposite is guilt and shame. And so in our world, guilt is used in a very perverted way. Again, I will remind you, guilt, the definition about feeling guilt is, did you cause harm? That's the number one question you have to ask yourself. Because if the answer is yes, then guilt is absolutely the correct emotion to label it. But if the answer is no, I did not intend to cause harm, then you don't have to feel guilty. You may feel embarrassed. You may feel ashamed. You may feel regret. You may feel anger. You may feel sadness and many other emotions, but it's not guilt. And so in the sacral chakra, that guilt and shame shuts it down, right? That feeling of, and it perpetuates the I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, and that I have to go prove myself. But the sacral chakra's sacred work is really about creation. So this is a place that you can dream, you can vision, you can set your intentions, you can create sacredness and hold that image in your mind and in your sacral chakra and in your heart. And how and why and when and what does it look like and what does it feel like, and some of the questions that go along with that are like, what do I want to birth? And when I mean birth, I literally mean like an idea, a vision, a desire. And of course, if you're a woman and you want to birth a child, then this is the place to really sit in and sit with what does that mean for you, and how do you want to show up? It also is a place where how long is the gestation period? So if we take the common knowingness of a baby takes 9 months, then what's your gestation period for this dream? Let's say you want to go to school and you want to get a degree. How long is that? How long will it take you? Let's say you want to write a book and you're trying to create and visualize and hold that desire. How long? How long? And asking the gestation period allows you to recognize that it's not instant manifestation. It takes time, just like I'm going to use the common analogy of planting a seed into the ground and not seeing it for quite some time. You water it and you visit it and you are wondering, when is it going to pop through the ground? And then all of a sudden one day you go out and it's above ground and it's little and it's vulnerable, and then it grows and it gets a little bigger and it's getting stronger and it's starting to grow more leaves, and then it continues to grow and it starts to bear fruit, whatever that might be, a vegetable, an idea, maybe the book, maybe the baby, maybe a new business, whatever that is. And then all of a sudden it's ripe and it's juicy. And that's the energy, and that's the thoughts, that the words to use around the sacral chakra: yummy, delicious, luscious, juicy, and passionate, desire, and deep knowingness, right? So introduction of the sacral chakra gives you the foundation to say, oh, wow, that holds a lot of potential. Am I actually connecting to the sacral chakra? Am I actively embracing it? And I would say, I don't have any statistics on this, so bear with me and just, feel into the resonance of this. But I'm willing to say that, particularly in the United States, 80% of the people are not fully engaging with the sacral chakra. They don't know what it is and they misuse it all the time. A lot of times initially in the beginning, years ago, when I started studying the chakra system, I thought the sacral chakra was all about sex. So, the whole intercourse thing. And it is to some degree, but our world has perpetuated it in a way that, if you're pure and if you're holy and if you're righteous and if you're a decent, proper human being, then we don't talk about sex, and we definitely don't talk about pleasure, about arousal and juiciness, and we don't even use real full names around labia and penis and testes. We come up with pet names. I mean, I can't remember what Oprah used to call hers, her vajayjay, right? It's a pet name. No, we women in the physical form have labia, we have a uterus, we have a vagina, and men have testes, and they have a penis, and there's tons of nerve centers, nerve endings in all that beautiful genital area. And I want to encourage you to not be so shy, to not live under the oppression of you can't own your sexuality. Yes, you can. And I'm going to assert, yes, you have to be fully authentic, to be fully alive with vitality. The sacral chakra is critical. Again, your dreams, your desires, your creation really truly starts in a very profound way in the sacral chakra. And so I want to just say, wherever you are on this spectrum, totally not identified, in denial, repressed, oh my God, I can't talk about that. Oh, no, that's so embarrassing. I don't want to hear even the words I just said. To fully alive, open, explorative, doing sacral chakra actions to help and awaken and aliven and hold. Wherever you are on that spectrum, you are exactly where you're meant to be for now. And my invitation to you is take another step in, take another step closer to the sacral chakra and see how your life might transform. So, that was a lot, right? Okay, so now we know what the sacral chakra is, we know where the sacral chakra is, and we have some pretty defined identities around what the sacral chakra is. Now, of course, you all know that I love the whole like on this plane of like what color it is. Does it have a fragrance? Does it have an incense? Does it have a crystal? Does it have an herb? So I want to just give you a few more quick, concrete things that you literally can go out and buy and just have in your presence and use them, right? So from an incense perspective, gardenia. So gardenia, if you live in an area that gardenias grow beautifully naturally, go smell them. And if you don't, go buy the oil. Even a candle that's scented gardenia could work, right? So Damiana is another one, and it's an herb and it's a scent, and so it's definitely mysterious, almost seductive, and it'll help keep the inquisitive arousal around what is the sacral chakra for me. Okay. And then crystals, anything orange, amber, orange calcite, sunstone, if it's orangey yellow, aragonite is another beautiful orange. What else is agate even can be orange. And even the root chakra is red, right? So even that carnelian, because that's orangey red. And then the third chakra is the solar plexus, which is yellow. So even the darker citrines that are dark yellowy brown can be part of the sacral chakra. And what I will say is whatever crystal comes to you and comes to your awareness when I say, what's the crystal for your sacral chakra? I want you to go with that. It doesn't always have to be the color orange. I don't want to limit you. I want you to trust your intuition here. So if I say what crystal is your sacral chakra, and you say, oh, I see a rose quartz, or oh, I see amethyst, or oh, I see lots of quartz crystals, go with it, because you and your soul and your body know your truth more than any guideline around what has been defined. So go be all that, right? Food and food also can be orange, and there's lots of orange. I used to have fun going to the grocery store and only buying one color of fruit and vegetable, and it was always amazing what I would bring home. Some of it, I didn't know anything about, and others I'm like, oh wow, that's really great. I often have a small bottle of orange juice in my refrigerator. It helps with other things as well, but I liked to be able to drink the orange for the sacral chakra support. But it also helps soothe the nervous system, and it's very refreshing for me. And I don't drink a whole glass. I literally open it up and drink a swig and put the rest back. Okay, as far as herbs go, fennel and coriander are really lovely supportive herbs. And so fennel can come in all kinds of different ways, right? You can do it powdered, you can do fennel seed, you can do fennel, the vegetable, make a fresh salad with it or saute it, and it gets really lusciously delicious. And fennel fronds, I always say, oh, it kind of looks like dill, because it does. It's really, light and airy, and I don't know, it's a fun, it's the top of the fennel plant, and that's delicious too. Chop that up and sprinkle it on food, in a salad. If you do lentils or chickpeas, fennel is a great complement to those kinds of legumes. And then coriander. Now, coriander comes in all kinds of things. So just so you know, coriander and cumin, they're the same. They're handled differently. Coriander has a lighter more citrusy, more brighter flavor, where cumin is a deeper, smokier, robust, earthy flavor. So look for that coriander. What I will share with you, I'm a big cook. So I use cumin for years because I'm Mexican. And so comino is like used in all kinds of Mexican recipes. And so I didn't really get introduced to coriander for a long time. And then I was like looking at recipes and it kept calling for coriander. And I was like, I'm going to go get some. And oh my goodness, it is so delicious. Like I have really fallen in love with it. It is lighter and it is a little more citrusy, and yet it still has a very grounded, earthy experience around it. But when you combine it with lime, or you combine it with lemon, or you combine it with fennel, or you put it in your like lentil stew, it helps bring that richness to the dishes. So there's my maybe 2 minute I'm getting off the soapbox of coriander, but I hope you will explore some of these things so that you know what works for you, right? Like you're not limited to what I'm saying. This is just an introduction, and I want you to trust yourself. All right, that was enough around what it is. Let's talk about how it might show up, right? And when I first started the exploration of this episode, I did not know or fully understand as much as I do now about how the sacral chakra is for men. I even, this is where I'm getting very vulnerable and just sharing the truth. I know women have a pubic bone, and I had to Google, do men have a pubic bone? And absolutely they do. And I thought that was true, but I had never really asked and found out the truth. So again, when I say it's below your belly button and to your pubic bone, that is true for men and women. And this is also true. The creative life force and self-expression is true for men and women. It is a dream incubator, the sacral chakra. It is sensual. It is a place for pleasure to be explored and for pleasure to grow into new things. Desire is often a root expression around sacral chakra for men and women. It is a place for passion, to feel your own passion, to arouse and turn yourself on, and to turn on also those dreams, those desires that it's super safe because it's within you, right? You don't have to share this with anyone else. And it's intimacy. And our world talks about intimacy between another. And I want to talk about intimacy within ourselves. To be intimate with self is to know how you are feeling and to allow those emotions to flow, to allow them to have a place to express and also have a place to end. I was just sharing this with a client, a friend of mine who, we were talking about emotions, and I'm like, remember, all they are waves in an ocean. They come in and they build, and then they crash down onto the ground, onto the beach, and then they gently, slowly roll back out, build again, and come in, and then crash into the beach and wash back out. And that's the life cycle of an emotion. It will end, it will come back, it will grow in intensity, and it will be released and expressed if you allow it. And that is intimacy around who you are, what you're feeling, what you're desiring, to give yourself that open permission. And then, of course, we've talked about sex and sexuality. The sacral chakra is a place for clarity around what it is for you and how you'd love to express it. And so let go of your conditioning about what sex is or isn't, what it should or shouldn't be for. It just simply is. We were born and created in a human form that, from a beautiful, compassionate, loving spirit perspective, God, higher self, the universe. It's a place that was specifically designed and uniquely designed for humans. And so the sacral chakra is that connection to the spark of life. And I want you to feel the spark of life. And sitting and studying and honoring the sacral chakra can help you do that. Okay, now we're going to move into helping you identify if your sacral chakra is out of balance, if it is blocked, or if it's expressing itself in a non-life-giving, pleasurable way. And some of these examples are also true for other things. So they are specific to the sacral chakra, but they also show up in other areas of our energetic system, of our body. A lot of it can be from trauma, from not getting what you want, from making something mean something that is negatively impacting your ability to have faith or to believe in yourself or to express yourself. So with that said, I want to talk about what a blocked chakra in the sacral chakra could look like or could act out as, or what you might be feeling. So again, remember I mentioned guilt. I would like to replace that word with shame. You also tend to be overly sensitive about all of the things that we just talked about. Overly sensitive around foods, overly sensitive around scent, overly sensitive around arousal, overly sensitive in a displeasurable way around being touched in a sexual way, or even self-touching, self-pleasuring. You get overly sensitive quickly. And we often are too hard on ourselves around some of the key components of what the sacral chakra is. We're overly hard around having an idea, wanting to create something, feeling like you have the power to birth something, rushing ourselves into a process that actually isn't honoring the full gestation period of whatever it is you're trying to create and birth. Physically, this can show up around having a very low sex drive, low libido, basically. And for men and women, it can be the bladder. For men, it can also be the prostate. Lower back pain is often common and associated with the sacral chakra. So if your lower back, your sacrum, is actually in pain, it's hard for you to bend over. It's hard to have, and so you're rigid in your flexibility. And that can show up too in your body, just not even in a sexual perspective, but just in the ability to bend over, to stretch, to I often say I have tight IT bands because my hips are often a little more tense, and I got to work to let them open and let them be more flexible. So that's an example where when I get into a fear state and I've disconnected from my creativity and I have doubt about what I want to birth, my hips just seize up and they just are so painful, and I can't bend over the way I want. I can't stretch the way I want. I can't do Pilates the way I like because my hips are so. But once the blood starts flowing and I start to do the emotional, energetic release work, my hips get better. And, so there's hope. You can always, all the things that are blocked or out of balance can absolutely be released and put back into balance. So that's 100%. Everyone, 100%. Okay, so from a sexual organ perspective, for men, the testes, have a lot to do with testosterone production. And so if this is blocked or out of balance, that's not going to be imbalance. Obviously, it's not going to have the full production. And for women, it's estrogen, it's our ovaries. And so they start to get a little clunky and get more painful during your menstrual cycles. That's again, I'm saying this and I want you to remember that a lot of other factors could be playing into this, but I'm specifically just talking about the sacral chakra so that you get a very clear understanding of what it could and is representing. So a lot of that has to do with allowing ourselves to have a healthy expression of our sexual desires, which in this country is not encouraged. It's starting, like for me, I live in an alternative, like, what other way could we do this other than the mainstream world? And so, but I think the fringe of what I'm talking about is becoming more and more common. And so if you are sexually repressed and you don't feel like you're safe to express your true sexual desires, go to the sacral chakra, sit in it, ask it questions, ask what you're afraid of. And so I'm a woman, so I'm going to share about the woman's perspective first, and then I'm going to bring in some of the masculine male perspective. And from a woman's perspective, it's when we get hurt, when we get teased or we get made fun of, pretty much on anything, whether it's our creative expression, whether it's our physical body, whether or not we live up to the social standards of what is deemed as beautiful or perfect or what is desirable, our sacral chakra takes a punch every single time. And it is painful because the rejection, the alienation, the not good enough is so perpetuated in every commercial, every TV show. Oftentimes most women don't see themselves in those experiences that everyone sees. And when they are, they're often ridiculed. They're often like, oh, well, we can't fully embrace someone that, is overweight, has smaller breasts, has too large, quote unquote, too large of breasts, that's not sexually desirable because you know, women are objectified and made into cartoonish like characters, and their whole purpose in that world and that expression is to please physically and visually the object of someone's desires, male or female. And so from a masculine perspective, men at a young age are told not to cry. They are told in so many ways, not necessarily verbal, that it's not safe to be soft. It's not safe to be emotional. It's not safe to really express the softer, more beautiful form of desire. It's more of a taking, a masculine, dominant, aggressive, action-oriented way. And so that automatically disconnects you and creates an imbalance in your sacral chakra. It's craving, it's asking you to come back into the truth of your spirit in human form. There are thousands of emotions, and emotional intelligence is something that all of us can grow into. If you're using, good, bad, angry, sad, frustrated, happy to express yourself, there's so much more. You can feel and express emotions. What's under good? When you say, oh, it's all good, what's under that? Is it pleasing? Is it peaceful? Are you experiencing satisfaction? Are you experiencing fulfillment? Are you experiencing delight? Is it joyful? Like, good is way overused. And then the bad, that was such a bad, horrible, challenging. What's underneath that? What are the emotions underneath that? It was so irritating. It was so agitating. It was so belittling. It was so embarrassing. It was so ridiculous. I felt, it's a great way to start to identify your emotions. I felt what? I felt uncomfortable, embarrassed. I felt hurt. I felt angry. I felt confused. All of those, right? So your emotional intelligence, the more you grow it, just like when you were a kid and you were learning your words and you had spelling tests every week, emotional intelligence is like that. You can create new words for the same kind of emotion, but with a deeper, more clear understanding of what you're actually feeling. And so I want to encourage you to do that because it's supportive to your sacral chakra. Okay. Whew, that's a lot too. So how do I want to start this? So an underactive sacral chakra, meaning that it's active, but it's really like just 10% of what it could be, is where a lot of us are, or 20% of where it could be, because we know that it's possible, but yet we're still struggling. We're still having difficulty expressing our emotions. We're still having difficulty with intimacy around with ourselves, and then with another, a family member, a friend, a partner, a lover, a coworker. And then I've met people that have expressed, oh, I'm so not creative. I can't think of anything to do. That's not true. Creativity is part of our human design. And so if you're feeling like you're so alienated from it, I want you to go to the sacral chakra and think about that. Start to investigate, start to research, start to explore, start to dream, start to do creative visualizations, listening to meditations. They all help. And you never know what your breakthrough is going to be. Okay, so hopefully you have a very clear picture now of how, when the sacral chakra is blocked or out of balance or just denied, what some of those things can come up and how they might show up for you. Again, follow your own intuition on this. I just wanted to give you some examples to kind of stir up the potential possibilities. And now I want to move into action. So there are a lot of simple things that you can do. I've mentioned a few of them as I've shared, but this list will, of course, all of this pretty much will be in the summary notes. So if you're on Spotify or YouTube, you can check those out. But simple actions or practices that you can do independently from anyone else is just literally place your hands on your lower belly. Just, put your hands on your lower belly and just breathe. And just allow your hand to feel what it feels like to put your hands on your body like that. And then just breathe. And try to imagine. Now, granted, we all know that our breath moves into our lungs, but we can visualize that breath going deep into the belly, coming way down into the sacral chakra, and having that belly rise up and then come back in, right? And that rhythm of expansion and then retraction. So expanding when you breathe in and contracting, pushing the breath back out, will warm up the sacral chakra. It'll start to soften it. Okay, and then wear orange. I'm serious. I believe in color therapy, and wearing orange, get comfortable with the bold, bright oranges, not just the rusty, darker, browner oranges. They're beautiful too. But it is okay to be bold. It is okay to be bright, and orange can help you do that. And I'm not just talking about a shirt. You can wear orange socks, orange underwear, orange pants, orange jackets, orange gloves, hats, orange, anything in any form. Of course, I already talked about eating orange foods. So oranges, squash, mangoes, carrots, apricots, pumpkin, papaya, all nourish your body in so many ways, but they will also help nourish your sacral chakra. And laughing, the belly laugh, right? When you start laughing so hard, you're just like crying and your belly's shaking and you're just laughing. One of the best things about laughter is you can fake it until it's real, right? And so just simply starting to laugh, ha 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 ha, and then letting that go, and then letting it grow and letting it grow more, and you get into this joyous, beautiful, authentic laugh, There's actually laughing qigong and laughing yoga, and there's laughing meditations. You can find them all over the internet, and start with that. Maybe if you can't do it on your own, uh, find a safe, quiet, alone place and just start laughing and see how it goes. Try it, and then pleasure yourself. And I mean that in the most beautiful way. Pleasure can come in many forms, right? Um, and pleasure doesn't have an ending or an expectation. It's simply the exploration of your physical body, your emotional body, your food, your beverage, the world around you as sweet. And again, no expectation. Um, we are not encouraged so much unless you're, maybe going to a somatic therapist or you're working with a naturopath or I don't know what else, but a healer of some kind, to touch ourselves in a non-sexual way, but in a pleasurable way. I remember my first experience of this. I was in a tantric workshop. So already I had put myself into an area where this is going to be normalized and accepted. And I wasn't going to feel like I was being made fun of. And that's really delightful. And if you're in that space to do that, give it a try. But the simple non-sexual exploration of physical pleasure was to use different tops, like a feather or a stick or a comb or a brush, um, or silk, and simply allow it to touch your skin on your arm, on your leg, on your chest, on your face, and see what it felt like. And then try that with different pressures. Let it be super soft, like barely touching, maybe even not touching, but barely touching. And then really deep touch, really intense, big energy of touching with all those different things, your hands and all of those little things, right? Um, I've even done it with crystals, because sometimes crystals are polished and they're so soft and they're so smooth and they feel really good. And other times the raw crystals, I have lots of jaggedy points and are rough and when I using them on my hands or on my neck or on my heart, they all feel slightly different, and some of it can bring a lot of pleasure. And so investigate, be curious about what pleasure and desire is for you, because those two in particular are deeply tied to the sacral chakra, as well as the creative, life giving, birthing energy. The sacral chakra is the incubator, right? And I use that word because it's non-gender. So often we'll say, oh, it's in the womb. Men don't have wombs, not like women do. So think of it as an energetic incubator where all of this desire, passion, understanding, creativity, expression, birthing of dreams and ideas, it's in the incubator. And the incubator is the sacral chakra. And how can you cultivate that? How can you turn it on? How can you expand it? How can you break through the barriers that have been honestly put in very conditionally through our society, through certain religious perspectives and beliefs, through culture, uh, and and then just from our basic United States understanding that this country was created from a pure, free, equal foundation. Well, none of that's true. When you look back on history, the people that sailed across the ocean to America, to the United States, were often criminals because they didn't want to give up their prestigious high class citizens. So they sent the criminals first because their lives weren't worth anything in that country, wherever they sailed from. And it didn't matter if they died on the journey. or if they never reached this quote unquote Americas. So the idea that America was founded on this like perspective of unity, it's not. And so it's been perpetuated and it's been conditioned into our world. The ability to deem people not enough, unworthy, not good enough, has gotten into our blood, into our physical DNA. And I'm not saying that the sacral chakra is going to save you from all of that, but I want you to recognize that you're more than all that you've been conditioned to be. And the sacral chakra is a beautiful place energetically and physically to explore what is true for you. So I'm also going to list several different affirmations because that's part of the chakra series. And I encourage you to look those over. And I think you're going to recognize a lot of the words I used in this particular episode. And I hope that you have learned enough to pique your interest and to maybe explore through simple things, literally eating an orange a day and wearing orange a couple times a week. Just try it. It can be a lot of wonderful fun. So I thank you for joining me. Please continue to share. If you enjoyed this episode, send the link to a friend, to a family member, maybe to your loved one, partner. And I really appreciate you staying here with me. This was a longer episode than normal, but this one warranted it. It is a very valuable energy center, and we all have a lot of space to grow. And so thank you so much. Many blessings. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.